Welcome all sports fans, all YouTubers, Facebookers, all social media across the nation. This is Uneducated Sports Talk and it's presenting College Casual Football Talk. I'm your host, Clayton, and this right here is my man, Brian Wilkinson, back for week number 4 recap and week 5 preview. B-Dub, what's up, baby?
Man, let's get into it, dude. There's an interesting slate of games coming up.
There is. Let's recap what happened in week 4 first. We had a lot of great games. If you're a fan of Team Los, you're not happy right now. We had TCU beating Texas, and that did not go down. Texas with the 31-16 victory after TCU had a 16-10 lead, something like that, and controlling the game. I found it funny how Texas basically out-physicaled, if that's a word, but they had better or bigger physicality over TCU, which I thought the opposite going into this game. No matter where it was, I knew it was in Texas. Mm-hmm. Tell me your thoughts on how you feel about Texas defeating TCU.
First of all, I had this one called. I thought this was going to happen. Texas defense was a lot more physical than I was expecting out of them this early in the season, just based on their last couple of performances. They were kind of scrappy. They weren't really asserting anything, sort of the way they did in this win. Texas defense absolutely came out and just ran all over TCU's offense. I do attribute part of that to the freshman quarterback TCU's got running the system.
Made some mistakes.
Made a couple of big mistakes. But yeah. More than that, when you put up 31 points, your quarterback is doing well, and Mr. Sam Ehlinger is absolutely doing that. That cannon that he's got on his right shoulder is firing on all cylinders right now.
They look good. Surprisingly, if they could just thank God they're done with the Maryland games, over the next couple of years. But this is the team that we know that can beat a USC team. USC isn't what they used to be, but could beat a really good TCU team, in my opinion. This team can make some noise in the Big 12. I mean, the Big 12 just got started the season-wise. You have the Oklahoma game, and if they can somehow pull that, because we all know what Oklahoma looks like against a few teams. Now, the Army is a little different. Time of possession was crazy. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I think Texas has the chance to really make some big noise in the Big 12 if they can play to their competition in a good way. Always be ready for games, never getting blown out, always playing tough and physical. Man, sky's the limit for this team.
You think Red River Rivalry unofficial Big 12 championship?
Man, it could be. The way the Big 12 is looking, I won't count out a certain team. We'll talk about that in a minute. But Texas and Oklahoma look like probably the two best teams so far in the Big 12. And I'm excited because when Texas is good, college football is good. And that atmosphere in that game was crazy. I saw it, and they were kind of quiet in the first half, but obviously when you're losing, that happens. But once they got momentum, that crowd was just crazy. And TCU couldn't stop, man. They couldn't stop. Probably the game of the week for those who stayed up late like I did, Stanford versus Oregon. That was crazy with Stanford pulling out the overtime victory 38-31 over the Oregon Ducks. About this game, Justin Herbert for Oregon, the quarterback, he is just a beast. He played outstanding. Even David Shaw had to say, like, the guy was incredible. We're lucky to get this victory because he was on point except for the overtime period. Bryce Love, who had his Heisman race, probably went down from this game because Bryce Love is usually dominating teams. In this game, he came up pretty short. But I want to talk about Oregon's chance to win this game. They had the game wrapped up. You probably take a nil or two, and then you punt the ball. But coach of Oregon said they were scared to punt the ball. They didn't want to punt it. Run the ball, get a first down, and they had the first down. But one of the running backs, young guy, he was struggling for yardage. Ball gets punched out. Stanford has a chance to tie the game up, and then a momentum shifts like that. So Oregon looks like a team that's on the uprising. We all know a few years ago with the Marcus Mariotas, when Oregon was just the darling of college football. But they had a chance to go up to be 4-0, probably having a momentum in the Pac-12, because let's be honest, the Pac-12, with this loss from Oregon, it is probably over with because now Stanford has a hard task this week against Notre Dame. So is Stanford the last shot for the Pac-12?
Stanford might be the last shot for the Pac-12. Stanford might be the Pac-12's last hope if they go undefeated. I don't think you're going to see a one-loss Pac-12 team.
That'd be tough
in the top 4.
Because that'll mean Washington will be the only one, and they have to run the table and dominate. And Washington with Jake Brown, I I don't like
Which
Jake Brown.
Also, although it creates an interesting scenario, let's say we get to the end of the season and Washington's run the table and Stanford's run the table. And in order to get in, Washington has to beat Stanford. Do you put Stanford in or do you put Washington in?
Yeah,
both with one loss.
Both with one loss, right? That would be crazy. That would be very interesting. I want to I got to look in the schedule to make sure they don't play each other. I think they do play each other in the regular season. That was one of the tough. Their schedule. They have Notre Dame coming up, and they still have Washington. I believe in Washington, matter of fact. So Stanford's got a tough schedule. That could be the last hope, unless Washington runs the table and blows people out. But with Jake Brown at quarterback and the way their offense is running, I don't see them even running the table at all. So. Good luck, Stanford, because you're the Pac-12's last hope, and you almost lost that in Oregon. So, Texas A&M versus Alabama, that was pretty much a blowout. It looked, the score is a decent score if you're talking about just your opponent not giving up. They get beat by close to almost 30, but at the same time, Alabama was just a team to be reckoned with. Like, I just don't see anyone touch them until they face Georgia. Georgia might be the only squad. LSU always plays Bama tough, let's just be honest. Yeah. They just never have the firepower when it's all said and done.
Which they might this year.
We'll talk about that when the time comes. We will talk about that game. But Bama right now is looking like only 3 or 4 teams in the whole entire Division I for college football can even contend with these guys. Tua, I'm not even going to pronounce his last name. He is, in my opinion, right now the front runner for Heisman. He's looking pretty good. And we'll talk about his backup quarterback in just a few minutes. But I want to get your thoughts on Clemson and Georgia Tech. Now, we got my boy Trevor Lawrence came in for Kelly Bryant. And somewhere in the second quarter, you told me about it, and Trevor Lawrence looked good. And every time he's had an opportunity.
He looked great.
Yeah, every time he's had an opportunity, he's coming and he has shown flashes of it. In my opinion, when I first saw him, if you guys follow me on Twitter, I said this guy will be the number 1 quarterback in about 2 years in the NFL. He looks that good. He's got a cannon of arm. Mobility is on point. Accuracy is on point. And he just basically beat Kelly Bryant for the position of quarterback. Now, Kelly Bryant, on that Monday, Dabo Swinney let him have his breather. He already told him, hey, you're not going to start anymore. But this is what it comes down to, the eligibility of Week 4. You can only play 4 games in the college football season if you want to transfer to a new school and play 1 more year of eligibility. Now, if you play that 5th game any second, any minute, you cannot go to the school the next year. So it was kind of smart on Dabo Swinney's part. I want to get your take on that rule. Do you like it or do you not like it?
I like it. First of all. If you're going to... this is college football we're talking about. This isn't professional ball. Kids aren't being paid to play. So if you want to... obviously you're going to want to be out there and you're going to want to be playing. Like, most of these guys are playing while they're in school, or they're... if you're talking about big D1 guys, they're playing to be in school. These guys are on scholarship to be there, so you want to be out on the field. Now, if you get a situation like this where you get beat out, some people say it's kind of weak to transfer, but if you're going to transfer out and kind of get your bearings a little bit more, because let's be honest, Kelly Bryant has a lot of work to do in the throwing department.
Yes.
There's no doubt the man can run. There's no doubt he can create plays, but the accuracy with his arm and his vision down the field in terms of throwing the ball, not looking to run, but looking to throw the ball, he has a lot of work to do. I think it's a smart decision on his part in order to increase his draft stock if he wants to go pro, is to not play that 5th game. It's good for Dabo to give him that choice to not play that 5th game, to be able to transfer out, to be able to garner some more experience, which is the route that he's chosen to go. I think it's good to have that option available as a player.
Yeah, I agree 100% with what you said. Because I'm just thinking to myself, everyone's saying, like, it's a weak move to leave. Why would you do that to your school? And, like, the school just benched him, and he might not ever see the field ever again. And, by the way, if he does play, say his backup mop-up duty, that fits 6-7 games, then he won't see any more college action at all when it comes down to being a starting quarterback. I think it's smart. Go out there, have 1 more year eligibility, especially for guys like him. And if Jalen Hurts decides to go that route, guys like him who are just looking to go to the pros and show more footage of yourself and getting better. So I do like that. I want to talk about Jalen Hurts. Now, it's obvious he's going to continue to play with Alabama. Is that the right decision for himself, or would you have liked to see him go transfer somewhere else before he plays that next game?
That's a tough one. That's a tough one. I kind of like him staying at Alabama, though.
Okay, why?
The thing is, when you want to talk about experience like that, there's game experience and there's coaching experience. And when you're dealing with those two aspects, the game day experience, if you're transferring out of Alabama, you're never, ever going to get that same game experience. You're going to get game experience, but it's not going to be the same. And then likewise, and even more so with the coaching aspect. Staying in Alabama, Jalen Hurts is going to play against the best recruits that they have to offer in all of the sport, under the best coach that there is to play for in the entire sport. That's what separates these two decisions. Clemson and Kelly Bryant, Dabo Swinney, as much as I love their program, they're not Alabama. They don't have the same recruits.
No, you're right.
They don't have the same coaching staff. And it reflects in their decisions on how they want to handle their players leaving in the same way. Jalen Hurts is going to be available to play for Alabama, and Nick Saban is going to use him.
He's going to use him.
He's not going to let that asset go to waste. Yeah. And he's going to get practice against the best players in the game. So staying at Alabama, in my opinion, is a much better decision than staying at Clemson.
I think potential-wise, I think Kelly Bryant has more potential than Jalen Hurts. We've all seen Jalen Hurts. He has a big body of work and very big, 2 years of experience pretty much, and against one of the best guys. But I think we've already seen his ceiling. And that's why I'm fine with him staying in Alabama. I'm not so if it was a talent like Kelly Bryant, in my opinion, I think it's good for him to go. Because you don't know if you're part of an undrafted area to late 6th, 7th round area as a quarterback. Maybe you want to boost your stock up to, get drafted by someone. Jalen Hurts, unless he's going to go to running back or something, I don't see him. We already know he's not going to get drafted, in my opinion. Now, I wish he would, or I hope the best for him, but in my opinion, if I'm Jalen Hurts, I don't want to stay there. The only way you're going to see a significant time is if Tua gets hurt. And I'm like, what's the chances of that happening? Because the minute he steps on the field for another mop-up duty, let's just be honest, it'll be a mop-up time or hope they get a close game, they use him in the goal line. But Tua can do all that as well. That's my thing. Tua's not just this drop-back quarterback who just slings the ball and can't run. He can run as well. So I'm like, using Jalen Hurts' ability is almost like saying, we just want you to stay in Alabama. We don't want you to be that guy that leaves us, and now all of a sudden a can of worms open up for the university and all these 5-star recruits like, well, if I ain't getting playing my freshman and sophomore year, well, I'm deucing too there. Because let's be honest, the guys are so good, you won't even get to see a chance really, really play till your junior year or senior year out in Alabama. So that's probably what he's going on, which I respect Nick Saban for that because it is a business in his mind, and he's the captain, and he wants to run that. But if I'm Hurts, I'm looking out for myself. I want to go. But I don't blame him because we do know his ceiling. So, like you said, the atmosphere playing against the best, you can't beat that as well, man. So, one more topic we're going to talk about, Scott Frost and the Nebraska Cornhuskers. And they got blasted by the Michigan Wolverines. For those who saw that coming, raise your hand. No. Now raise my hand. I did not see that. It was an ass whipping. Let's just be honest. It was an ass whipping. It was bad. Scott Frost did not 0-3, and they lost in many variety of ways now to different tiers of schools. Is this a sign, a bad sign, or we got to just pump the brakes on Scott Frost in Nebraska?
I think personally, I stated already, we did this again. We did this last week when they lost to Troy. I think I'm going to hold true to that. I think you need to pump the brakes a little bit on Scott. I think you need to give him an actual chance to get in there because, let's face it, the regime that was in before him was about this good. Yeah. It's going to take some time to turn that around. The more interesting aspect of this to me was, where did this Michigan offense come from?
59-10. I mean, 56-10. 56 points put up by Michigan, and they scored offense, special teams. They were just dynamic, and we didn't see that in week one.
I can't even remember the last time Michigan scored more than 30.
I can't. I'm with you on that. That is crazy. I'm pump the brakes. This isn't Scott Frost's recruit class coming in and playing. Give him time. He's a young guy who brought UCF from 0 to now they're talking about the national champions, and right now they're looking good too, UCF, and that's still his guys. Matter of fact, Milton, the quarterback, he's top 5 in the Heisman talk right now, so they're looking good, but that's all Scott Frost's guys. So just imagine if he gets his regime in and gets his
give him some time. Give him
time. But we're fine, but Nebraska Cornhusker fans, they might be singing a different kind of note. They're like, you got to hurry this thing up. Let's get a victory at least.
Let's get a win.
Let's get a win. It's just woosah, Nebraska Cornhusker fans, woosah, and Scott Frost is going to lead you guys to good things, hopefully to the future.
Final question: do you think Michigan can challenge for that whatever division they're in? Title?
No. I think Ohio State. What's the kid's name again? The quarterback.
Dwayne Haskins,
he's a beast, and I think Ohio State just talent-wise is just too much for Michigan. And look, do I root for Michigan every time they play Ohio State? I find myself rooting for them every time. But this year, I don't see them even competing against Ohio State, let alone teams like Penn State. Those guys. I just think we'll find out. But Ohio State is damn much better than Michigan, and Michigan can't afford another loss. Period. They're done.
All right,
one more loss and they're out.
We'll talk about that a little bit more coming up in the week preview. One last guy that we'll use to segue into this week's preview, Will Grier, quarterback, West Virginia University, transferred out of Florida, and is lighting the place up.
Man, look, West Virginia plays Texas Tech, and Texas Tech is ranked, which is a good thing for West Virginia.
Great for West Virginia.
Great. That's great for a resume because they got that game taken away against North Carolina State or whoever they played in the Carolina areas. Maybe it's ECU or something like that. But they got a game taken away, which is a Power 5 team that they could have beaten to put their resume up a little bit bigger. Well, now you got a Texas Tech team in Texas Tech who's going to score points. We know that. Can you keep up? Can West Virginia keep up? And Will Grier right now, in our opinion, he's a top 3 Heisman finalist right now. He's looking good. I got West Virginia beating this Texas Tech team, but it's going to be close. I think it'll be very, very close. And to be honest, it's more of my bias, just want to see a new team get up there, a la Miami last year. Mm-hmm. Even though Miami, in my opinion, their offense just sucked to me, so I was like, eventually it's going to go down. But West Virginia has a great offense and a decent defense, and they play in the Big 12, so that's the scary part as well. Teams score points. But I do like West Virginia winning this. I think Will Grier is going to have another MVP or Heisman Trophy kind of game, and hopefully the team right around them and they actually win.
The craziest thing about this matchup to me is we're talking about a top 25 matchup that does not include Oklahoma, any school from Oklahoma, Texas Tech is in Texas, but they're not UTA.
they're not Texas.
Or not A&M. And this is a top 25 matchup.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about West Virginia and Texas Tech from the Big 12.
Rarely hear that. I remember it was just a few years ago, it was Baylor and TCU. Just a couple years ago. But outside of that, the norm is Texas, Oklahoma. So just getting fresh faces as in West Virginia.
It was great. I think this is just going to be a classic Big 12 shootout because you can't stop the Red Raiders. They score points. That's what they do. That's where Patrick Mahomes came from.
Yep.
They sling the football.
He's lined up in the NFL. So
West Virginia can keep pace though, and I do think they have the slightly better defense. So I will give them the edge in this game. I'll let them take it. Something like, I would even venture to say there'll probably be 150 points combined scored in this game.
And you know what? I believe that. Might be 75 to 74. Like, whoa. Let's talk about the game or the matchup of the week. And that's going to be Ohio State going into Penn State. We all know that Urban Meyer has come back from a suspension. They looked good last week. And Penn State still has their quarterback there. So they've been making some noise. Outside of that one tough win they got against Appalachian State, outside of that, they've been destroying teams. So they're probably getting back into their form. Mm-hmm. And thank God they actually pulled that game off. Because can you imagine them losing to Appalachian State? Season might be over with already just because of that game in Penn State. So Ohio State versus Penn State, and this is going to be, in my opinion, a really good matchup. We're hoping it's a really good matchup. I think this is going to
be a fantastic matchup.
It was great last year, and it was great the year before that as well, so I can't imagine not being great this year. I'm going with Penn State because although Ohio State might be the better team on paper, I think Penn State just being at home gives them that edge. And hopefully this year they won't blow a lead.
It is strange for whatever reason. Happy Valley is just a tough place for the Buckeyes to play. Every single time they go there, it doesn't matter if Penn State's ranked, if they're not ranked. It's just Ohio State has a tough time with Happy Valley.
They do.
It must be the whiteout.
It's the whiteout. It must be. How do you see that game going down, man?
That being said, this goes against everything that I think and believe in as a fan, because I like to root for the underdog, and it's weird for the underdog to be at home and you just want them to win more. But I can't shake this feeling that Dwayne Haskins is going to do something and Ohio State's going to win this ball game.
There you go, man. Hey,
it's going to be a tough game in Happy Valley, and Penn State is going to come out firing.
We seen them play. Not although playing against TCU wasn't that big of an atmosphere, because it's some of your fans are there, and it's Dallas Stadium. So, and that stadium alone is just not a really good home field advantage for the Cowboys. Because guys are in their fancy bars and everything's so fancy over there, and you just in awe, like, whoa. So I understand that this will be their first road tough atmosphere where everyone hates you.
Real test.
A real test. I think Penn State comes on top, but I would not be shocked at all if Ohio State comes out there and just not steamroll them, but man, put a point after point after point after point. Because that's a tough offense to face against, and like I said, Haskins he's been fantastic so far this year. So we got our Team Beta versus Team Carlos. Now, if you're Team Carlos, like I said, you've been hurt so far. We're 0-2, but we got our game of the week, which is going to be Stanford versus Notre Dame, and we got our picks in. I'm going with Notre Dame. It's going with Stanford.
Give me the Cardinals.
Yeah, the Cardinals, right? I'm going with Notre Dame. Now, I see where you come from, because Stanford, if they continue this offensive trend they got, Notre Dame is known for having big explosive games. And Notre Dame has been in every game. And on the bad side, you're talking about against teams like Vanderbilt, and they've been close. Now, just last week they finally had a decent-sized victory. But I got Notre Dame, give me Notre Dame because they're at home, the atmosphere. Stanford is lucky to even get a victory against Oregon, so they might be still on that high, that buzz. That's what I'm feeling. But you got Bryce Love.
I don't believe in Brian Kelly. It just Notre Dame's been good.
Hey, I never saw them believe either, though. I never said that.
They just can't seem to break over that edge and get to that dominant space.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, they keep playing close against the Vanderbilts and all those other teams
Michigans,
of the world.
We saw them
and
close against them.
That offense that Stanford broke out this past weekend, I don't care that they were playing against Oregon. I don't care that they were away. I don't care that they lost that game or just barely won that game. That was crazy.
Yeah.
They were on point. Bryce Love was having a bad game, and the quarterback stepped up, threw for over 320 yards in the game. And when you're talking about your star player not having a good game and someone else stepping in and picking up that slack and being able to carry that load,
huge.
That's when you're talking about having a real solid team. Not a star caliber team, but a real solid team. Definitely enough team to beat Notre Dame.
For what David Shaw always has, he's a great head coach. Look, for what he gets in that area. Now, first of all, Stanford is one of those smart schools to go to, so it's not that many just 5-star recruits coming in there. But for some reason, he always has that team playing, and they have to beat themselves kind of to lose games. But they rarely beat themselves. For the talent they have, to get a Bryce Love to go in there and be just really great, and for this team to always be there in the Pac-12, no matter at the end of the season, they're always somewhere close to winning the title or whatever. Dave Shaw's done a really good job, and he's had a lot of head coaching looks too. So I just hope he stays in Stanford and build that program a little more. We have 2 more final games. So I'm Notre Dame, and this is Stanford, so you guys remember that, because we're going...
My name is Stanford.
Yeah, we're getting that first dub, baby. Sorry, Notre Dame fans, I'm sorry. We got BYU and Washington, and we have Oregon and California. Those are the nightcap games, pretty much. BYU, after a victory over... who was their...
They beat Wisconsin.
Wisconsin
was number 6.
Number 6 in the nation.
And
they beat my McNeese State Cowboys. Lake Charles, let's go, baby. But anyways, BYU goes into Washington, and that's going to be interesting. I have Washington winning, but, man, I can see BYU beating Washington. Washington just doesn't scare me on the offense anymore. No. They're still good defensively. But on the offensive side, I've never been a fan of Jake Browning and how they play. Now, I do, and Chris Peterman, the coach, he is special. I do like him as a coach, but I can't wait till they get rid of this 10-year quarterback in Jake Brown. He's been there since like 2008. I promise you.
If BYU can come in to Washington and make this a down and dirty game like they did in
Wisconsin, yes.
They absolutely can win this game.
Solid team. They can. And Washington isn't as what's the word I'm looking for? They're not as tactical on offense as Wisconsin is. Wisconsin is, they don't make mistakes. Washington makes mistakes all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see BYU capitalizing that, but I'm still going Washington. Give me Washington. And then we got our finale, Oregon at California. California just entered into the top 25. Hello, California. Oregon could have been in the top 15, maybe
top
teens, somewhere 13, 12 with a victory over Stanford, but letting that go. They're now ranked number 19 against 24. Who you got going in that game?
I'm going to pick Cal at home. I'm
the same way. California. I just think these Pac-12 night games are they're really good. They're
fun to watch.
They're fun to watch because there's hardly any defense and it's explosions, but they're always close games. Very fun to watch, so I'm excited about this game. Give me California as well. We're going with that. So that is basically our wrap-up for the Week 4 recap and the Week 5 preview. So comment down below who you guys have in each game. Let us know your thoughts and your comments down. And who's going to win out of Ohio State and Penn State. Let us know that as well. So with that being said, this is Uneducated Sports Talk for Brian Wilkinson. I'm your host, Carlos Clayton. Hey, all sports fans. College Casual Football Talk. We'll be back next Thursday. Check us out. You guys know what time it is. Stay smart. Stay uneducated. Peace.